Hey, what's up, everyone? Let me know if you guys can see me. Please let me know in the chat if you guys can see and hear me. Let me know. Please let me know because I'm looking at the StreamYard right now. So someone in the chat, please let me know. All right, cool. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. So we'll get going in a minute. Chris hopefully will join us. Obviously, he's writing, so we'll see what happens. So for me, it'll be me for now, but please leave comments and questions. Let's make this as interactive as possible. Eddie, I'll explain this right from jump since I know that this has been a thing since we decided to go to a Patreon. So we'll explain it since we're all friends here. So basically, how it works, unless you have like big sponsorship, you have something called CPM. So it's basically like a rate that goes off of 1,000 listens or downloads, and then you start making some money. So obviously, Chris is a working journalist that provides a lot of insight. I'm not a journalist, clearly. I'm a fan like you guys, but I do have a schedule and other things, and we committed time and effort to bring in the podcast there. And also for a while, I was also the producer, so I was editing the podcast as well. Um, when we started getting some of the money for when we started getting some of the money, quite frankly, it was like $10 after, and we have like a lot of downloads, like thousands of downloads, and like we really appreciate everybody's support. But it was like, no lie, I'm not even exaggerating here, like $10. And this was like after multiple episodes where we were getting a lot of downloads. So it didn't feel feasible for the what we were putting into it and what we were getting out of it didn't match. So the quickest way for us to do that and feel like we could generate a little bit of revenue, because this is an extension of what we do, and like we put effort and work into it, and with Chris's insight and all that stuff, we decided to go to the Patreon. Like it wasn't we weren't trying to like cut down the audience or like make things difficult for you guys, but it really just came down to having better compensation, to be quite honest. Like it just wasn't it just didn't make any sense. Like I don't think anybody here would put in effort to do things and expect to get $10 back. I think you would want more. So, and I'm really not exaggerating with that number. Like it increased a little bit, but we barely broke $100 in total, and we were like 30 something episodes in with like really good listenership for an early podcast and like pretty much a niche podcast. So that explains why we went to the Patreon. We could have, I think if things were ideal, we would have timed it a little bit differently, but there was a lot of things going on behind the scenes just in terms of like getting it set up and finding a producer and all that stuff. So we also have a producer now. So his name is Andrew. So we want to pay people as well. So, there's a lot of things that go into it, but it wasn't meant to throw you guys off, or we didn't have any issues with picture lists or anything like that. It really just came down to the amount of compensation for the amount of work we were putting in. So I hope that addresses that. And if you want to join at some point, we really would appreciate it. And if not, we get it. We understand, like, not everybody has disposable income to listen to two guys talk about the Yankees. We get it. I totally understand. So I know it's late. I know not that many people on, but we appreciate the ones that are on. And again, Chris might come on at some point. That reminds me, I actually have to send him the link, but I know he's like writing something for The Athletic now. So let's just jump into it. Yankees win game 1 of the ALDS. I know all of you were watching. I think that there is one. Okay, so I want to preface this by saying the thing that ultimately matters the most is the most obvious thing. So You got to win 11 games to win a World Series. And the most important thing is that they won game one. So they have one win in the bank. This is going to be small sample size theater from the beginning to whenever it ends. But the most important thing here is that the Yankees won this game. And I think with these games, it's kind of hard to analyze because, again, it's small sample size theater. So you're going to have a situation where, some things might feel like outliers, but it doesn't really matter. So I think the biggest thing right now is that you're just looking at a baseline of performance and hoping that the Yankees can improve upon that baseline moving forward. Like the 162 game sample doesn't apply anymore. And I think that we saw that today in the sense that the stars for the Yankees outside of Juan Soto did not really show up and carry the team today. But the season-long criticism of this team has been the supporting cast, and the supporting cast was fantastic. The supporting cast won this game. Whether it was Alex Verdugo, my favorite Yankees player of all time, or Gleyber Torres, or Clay Holmes, everybody's favorite Yankees closer of all time. The list goes on and on. Jazz Chisholm with a big hit, and then I guess he got a steal. I still think he was out, but whatever. Let's just say it worked out in our favor. I thought Oswaldo Cabrera was fantastic at first. I just think there were a lot of contributions from a lot of places that led to this win, and it was encouraging to see that happen. And I think Austin Wells was big, and I think that moving forward, if you can essentially steal games where the stars don't carry the team, but you can still end up with a win, obviously that's going to do wonders for your team, because you would think or hope that Garrett Cole will pitch better. You will hope that Aaron Judge starts to figure it out in the postseason. You will hope that Giancarlo Stanton drives a ball with runners in scoring position like he has over the years in the playoffs. So I don't think that there were too many negatives. I'm not sure where the layoff factors into all of this. I think it impacted Cole. I don't think it impacted anybody else. I don't think Judge went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts because of a layoff. I don't think Giancarlo Stanton had a rough game because of the layoff. I think they just had bad games. Like, I think it was the case with Garrett Cole. I think that his command was bad, and he wasn't really getting swing and miss. And the Royals, who we've said on the pod, if you listen, if not, over the last 2 months, the only team that's been better than them offensively for 1 month, a month of time, has been the Chicago White Sox. So that's how bad the Kansas City offense has been. And that's with Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez. That's how bad this offense has been for like 2 months. So for them to have such quality at bats, to me, just shows that Cole, the layoff kind of impacted him, because he should be able to dominate that lineup. He should do what Corbin Burns did to this lineup in game 1 of the wild card series. So, and I also think, Cole is like big into routine and all that other stuff. So I think that all factors into it as well. So yeah, I think that obviously this is encouraging, where Austin Wells had a big hit. Gleyber Torres, to me, was the offensive star of the night. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that because it's Gleyber, but Gleyber was fantastic. And Verdugo was the star of the night. I have to give credit where credit's due. I've been crushing that dude with all valid reasons and like evidence, but it's the postseason now. It's about winning games and showing up. And Alex Verdugo absolutely did that today, both with the glove and the bat. I mean, obviously the what turned out to be the game-winning hit. So that was fantastic. Do I think that there's any tension between Cole and Wells? No, definitely not. I just think Cole is an intense, competitive, kind of weird dude. And I think that when he's pitching, he's extremely demonstrative and like into it and trying to get his point across. And I think that sometimes he's probably criticizing himself, but it looks as if he's admonishing somebody, because there's been multiple times when he's had meetings with his catcher and Matt Blake, and it looks like he's yelling at them, but I think he's yelling at himself and frustrated because he's a perfectionist that he hasn't been able to execute or execute the plan the way that he wanted to. So I know that Cole and Wells had like this long, or I don't know if it was long, but like this public conversation as they were walking off the field, and it looked like it might have been confrontational, but I don't think it was that. I think these guys are just um both competitive and both want to succeed and have a plan, and like when it doesn't go well, they're trying to figure it out in real time. So I don't think that there was any issue there. Jerk tube. The biggest negative from this game is that you'd hope the Yankees would come in and play more fundamental, crisper baseball, but they played sloppy again, which means it's on the table for future games. Okay, I'm going to disagree. And this is saying it acknowledging that horrible Volpe error. I'm going to disagree. I actually think the Yankees played pretty crisp for a team that has not been playing for over a week. Soto had that big throw to nail Perez. Verdugo had a couple nice plays. Oswaldo Cabrera at first base was really good. I thought Jazz Chisholm was good at third base. Judge made that amazing catch in the left center gap to start off the game against Bobby Witt Jr. I think the only real issue here in terms of just like crispness, at least on the defensive side, was the Volpe error, which was bad, but it was still good getting to the ball. He just the throw was garbage. Like the throw was bad. But I think for a team that was off for a week, I actually think they played pretty crisply. I think that I didn't think that they had a bad game, to be quite honest, in its totality. Now, offensively, if you want to include that, then yes, there were some issues there. And I mean, they've had trouble with Waka, who was not good tonight. But I think that shows that they just have trouble picking him up, because he was in trouble every inning. He was terrible, and they couldn't take advantage. I think part of it was the Yankees were being a little too aggressive. I think that they, like Jazz Chisholm early in the game, swung like first or second pitch in a couple at bats. I think that they were anxious. I think they were trying to make things happen. I think that they pitched Judge really well and tough. It was inside, outside. I thought they changed speeds really well on him. He was having trouble with like change up and breaking stuff that was like coming in on him, and he was like way out in front. I thought that he was a little too anxious, and he expanded the zone a lot, which is something he hasn't done. So I think that's him trying to make things happen. Stanton was swinging out of the zone a lot. I thought that they had poor at bats with runners in scoring position. So if you want to put that in the like crisp category, then yes. But I think defensively, outside of the Volpe error, I think their defense kept them in the game. And I thought Oswaldo Cabrera was sneaky good today. He made some nice scoops. He looked comfortable over there. He was lunging a little too early, so you can tell he's inexperienced. But I thought he was good. The Volpe error was bad, though. Like, I'm not trying to like downplay it. The Volpe error was terrible. Let's see here. William K. So would you like to have Verdugo on the field or Grisham? I mean, it's going to be Verdugo. I mean, if Verdugo performs the way he did today, then Verdugo. But it's going to be Verdugo. Like, Grisham barely played at the end of the regular season. He didn't factor into anything. He was, like, cleaning stuff up. So, look, I'm not a Verdugo fan. I'm not going to change that. But it's right now it's about winning. So it's about the postseason. Like, can we win these games? I don't give a shit who is contributing and being the big player here, regardless of what I said or what I thunk in the past. Like, it's about winning. So I'm the biggest Alex Verdugo fan tonight. So I don't think there's even a conversation about Verdugo or Grisham. And I know you were talking about on the field, but I mean, Grisham hasn't logged any games in left field. And Chris and I have spoken about this multiple times. We don't think Judge is comfortable in left field, and you certainly don't want to do that now in the playoffs. So, you know, I think it's going to be Verdugo. It'll be Verdugo on Monday. I mean, I don't really know where Jason even or Grisham factor into this right now. I think they're just going to be I think Grisham is in an emergency situation, and I think Jason is a bat to pinch hit if the situation arises. But I think it's Verdugo. Eddie, any changes to the lineup you would like to see going forward? Nah, I just think that they need to have better at bats. I mean, sometimes it just comes down to the quality of bats. I think the construction of it was fine. It made sense. I think everybody that was in the lineup today will be there in the lineup on Monday, even though Reagan's is in there. I don't think they're going to change much. You're not going to see Jason because he's terrible from the right side this year. I think you'll probably see Oswaldo because I don't think they're going to put Rice up against Reagan's. That would feel like you're putting Rice in a really bad position. I just think they need to have better at bats with runners in scoring position. In this one game, I think that they were a little too anxious and a little too over aggressive. But I think they might make adjustments. It's going to be tougher against Reagan's because he is filthy. But yeah, I just think that it was the quality of at bats in running runners in scoring position opportunities. If that improves, then I think they'll be fine. But I thought it was all right. Okay, so please tell me if I'm wrong, but I felt like Jazz Chisholm was out at second base. I feel like that was a very under the radar moment in the game. I felt like there were a couple very specific moments in the game that impacted the outcome of the game or how the game was going. I thought the Yuli Gurriel 11-pitch walk with Cole absolutely killed Cole. And that was a fantastic at bat. I tweeted this. I sports hate Yuli Gurriel. I hate him sports-wise, sports context, but I have to give him credit. That at bat, I think, was the beginning of the end for Cole. Cole threw some nasty pitches, and he just fought them off. And I think that had a big impact on how the rest of that inning went. Melendez hit the home run. I thought that was a big moment, and I thought Jazz Chisholm somehow staying at second base after that steal was also a big moment, clearly. I thought he was out. Now, please tell me if you see something differently, because I know it was close, and some people said that the replay wasn't conclusive enough. I thought he was out in real time. I also thought he had a terrible jump. Like, I don't even know what he was doing. And that Volpe at bat was terrible. I don't even know why. Boone took a big risk sending Jazz because the strikeout was coming with Volpe. And that, I support Volpe, but he's been terrible. And that was a horrible at bat. So please tell me if, something was off. But I thought that Jazz Chisholm, as the game went on, had a nice impact. I thought he was good defensively. And his stolen base was like a big, 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 big part of that game. So please let me know. Honestly, despite the outcomes, this is Ed. Honestly, despite the outcomes not being there, I thought the fact that there was a ton of traffic was encouraging. Yes, I agree with you. I mean, you can't really have these at-bats or runners in scoring position unless you get guys with runners in scoring position. I thought that they were largely patient. Waka, again, was not good, but I think that they took advantage of that until Waka bared down, and I think that the Yankees helped them out. That's why I'm not as concerned about the lineup. I wouldn't look for any changes. I just think that the quality of at-bats in those specific situations just need to be better, and I think that they just need to be a little bit more disciplined, because I felt like Waka was able to expand the zone on a bunch of guys, and it helped them out. I think the reliever that came after Zerba, I don't know if it was, please correct me because I'm pretty sure I got his name wrong, but I don't know if it was Schwarber or whatever. I think that he was able to get a couple guys to expand a little bit too. So I just think the quality of the bats in those situations need to improve. Let's see here. Yankees got to work on base running. Why is Torres running on that play? Look, that's how. Take it or leave it at this point with how this is going to go down with the Yankees and their base running. We're going to have to hold our breath, I think. So, yeah. Let's see here. Okay, so guys, you guys do think he was out. No, it wasn't a jerk tube. It was not a delayed steal. I think he just got a terrible jump. It was 3-2. So Schreiber, yes, thank you. yeah, I don't think it was I don't think it was a hit and run, and I don't think it was anything or a delayed steal. I think he just got a terrible jump for whatever reason. Um, I'm not really sure why, but um, yeah, I just think that he just had a bad jump and it kind of got bailed out. Um, but I'm curious what all of you guys think about Garrett Cole. I'm kind of bouncing around here because I'm just thinking about like certain moments. But um, do you guys think that the layoff had some impact on his performance? Do you think that he will be better if there is a game four? Because he'll pitch game four in Kansas City. I tend to think that it came down to the layoff. Again, one indication to me is uh, command with him and fastball command and swing and miss. And I was looking at um, his plot from tonight, and he just couldn't locate his fastball. And I think that that's one easy sign to tell if like Garrett Cole's having a good game. And also, you can just look at the ride on his fastball. If it's not like at his standards, then I think you can tell that like Garrett might not have the best of nights. And again, part of me would like to say because of he wasn't getting swing and misses, and there were just like certain batters that were having at bats that you wouldn't expect to have against Garrett Cole, especially game one in the playoffs. Um, I just think that he was battling with Yuli Gurriel and like the older version of Yuli Gurriel because he's like 65 years old and he came into the majors at like 50. Like that guy's been there forever. He was struggling with MJ Melendez, who's terrible. Maikel Garcia, who's been terrible this year. It just felt like everything was a slog. And I would like to think that a lot of it was just based on the layoff. Like he's the one guy that I put into the category of the layoff for somebody that's so meticulous that seemed like that was the biggest issue. John, I do agree. John Morales said, I also think Casey had a game plan. They jumped on the stuff early. I agree. And I think that that's one way that you attack aces, especially early in the game. And that was clear in the first inning. And they hit 3 ropes. So that also wasn't a good sign. You know, sometimes you're saying, okay, they like, you know, the first inning takes a while for a big time pitcher to like settle into a game. But they were hitting ropes. Like it was a little bit more than settling into the game. Like there was like smoking his shit. So yeah. I agree with you, John. Ed, hear me out. Cole is this generation's Mike Mussina. When his routine is disrupted, he's all out of sorts. I can see that. I can see that. I do think it's pretty obvious that Cole's stuff is better, so it feels like he has a larger room or margin for error. But I can see that. I mean, they're both like meticulous. I would say Cole is even more meticulous than Mussina. Like I think Cole is, I don't know what the right phrase is, but I think Cole is ultimately someone that is obsessive with his craft. Like I feel like he has that personality that even if he was in engineering or was a chemist or filmmaker or a bus driver or a mechanic, that he would just be obsessed with it. Like he cannot get away from like obsessing over his craft. So yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that comparison with Cole and Messina. I do think Cole will be much better in Game 4 if we get to a Game 4. I think that he'll understand what he needs to work on, not just with his arsenal, but I think he'll know how to attack these hitters. I think Kansas City over the last since the playoffs have started, they put better at bats together than you would expect, and I think Cole will figure out a plan to kind of shut them down. Yeah, he struggled to establish his fastball. I mean, I think that was pretty clear. All right, so let's talk about the elephant in the room here. Aaron Judge. Now, we all know how good Aaron Judge is. He's amazing. He's probably going to the Hall of Fame, first ballot, whenever he hangs it up. He will be in Monument Park, all of those things. But, and the narrative is now growing with his postseason performance. And I think because he's a Yankee and he wears the pinstripes, he's the captain, he's so successful, the spotlight is brighter on him, especially when it comes to playoff performance. Now, I'm not totally sure where I land on this personally, because I can say he has 13 home runs in the playoffs. You could tell me, well, outside of that, he sucks in the playoffs. He hasn't done well. I don't think I'm there yet with Aaron Judge. I have so much faith in Aaron Judge that I'm giving him a long runway. I also think that, and this is not an excuse, so I want to make this clear. I'm not excusing the recent performances from Judge. I do think when you get to the playoffs, the amount of attention that is paid to stopping a team's best player is magnified like tremendously in the playoffs. Now, he's good enough to overcome that. I'm not excusing him. He needs to perform better. But I do think that the way he's attacked in the regular season is vastly different than the way he's attacked in the postseason. Like, if you look at these at-bats today, I don't remember a lot of pitchers being so conscious about changing his eye level and changing what part of the plate they're going to attack him. They attacked him on both sides of the plate, and they had him looking high and low. They were using all four quadrants of the zone against him in every at-bat. They don't do that in the regular season. Now, part of that is because the teams aren't as good and the pitchers aren't as good. Michael Wacha is filthy against the Yankees. But, like, that's also a plan of attack. That's also advanced scouting. That's also, like, the Royals sitting down here and saying, okay, this is how, if we're going to pitch to him, and it's very clear, and I give them credit, they pitched to him every at-bat. They didn't walk him. They didn't try to pitch around him. They were very, very clear that they were going to attack him a certain way and that they felt confident in their plan, and their pitchers executed. Every pitcher executed that plan against him. It was like he didn't know where the ball was going. He couldn't settle on a pitch type, and he couldn't settle on a location. They were everywhere. They were throwing a kitchen sink at him, which is very different than in the regular season. So again, I am not excusing him, but I can see how it's more difficult because he's the guy that they have to beat if they're going to pitch to him. So it's hard for me because I think he deserves runway, but it gets to the point where you're the guy on the team, you're the star, you got to show up. And I think that the Yankees are going to need their stars to show up. It didn't happen tonight outside of Soto, but I think it's more difficult for him. Like, as John points out, like, Bobby went 0 for 5. And I think he had I think he had better at bats than Judge. The one ball he smoked in the first inning and Judge makes a play, or he has like a triple. And then the one that he almost hit out to right field. But it just feels like he's going to have to make an adjustment and just say, I'm either looking for this pitch or I'm looking for this zone, and I can't like start playing this game with everybody, at least with the Royals, because it was very clear, at least tonight, what their game plan was. And yes, Hawkeye, he got to 3-2 a couple times, but like that, who cares? Like, I'm not like trying to like get at you. I'm just saying he needs to like be productive. So like getting to 3-2, he's always at 3-2. So I don't think that was any different, but they were able to finish off those at bats against them. So I don't know. I felt like he was pitched tough today more than anything else. That's my impression. I don't think that he was so awful that the whole like A-Rod comparison needs to come up. I think that there were times where it was very clear that A-Rod was overwhelmed by the moment. I don't think Judge was ever overwhelmed by the moment. I think they just pitched him really well. And I think that that's something that he's going to have to figure out to like be impactful in the playoffs to some degree, like he is in the regular season. So, you know, I don't buy into the like postseason narrative yet, but he's giving people ammunition, and he's giving people reason to make it seem like that he might be a problem in the playoffs. I'm not there yet. I think it's just the way he's being pitched, but he's not helping his cause. So, all right. I see you guys talking about Stanton. Yeah. I don't agree that with Eddie that you would rather. I wouldn't take my chances with Jason and Stanton. Stanton was on base a couple times, right? I think Stanton's athleticism killed them more than his at bats, if I remember all of his at bats correctly. Like his lack of athleticism and being able to run, like literally run with any kind of sprint speed, is part of the reason why the Yankees didn't score 2 more runs. So, you know, like he was on base a couple times, and his like inability to run the bases like really like showed up. So I don't think I would take Jason over him for obvious reasons. I think the upside is there with Jason, and I think if you compare it to Verdugo, that makes more sense. But Stanton can change the game in one swing, as we all know. He has a long postseason record of success, as we all know. And he's going to strike out and look crazy in some of these at-bats. That's just what comes with Giancarlo Stanton. So I think it just comes with it. I think you're going to have to take the good with the bad, because when the good happens, he can change a game with one swing. You don't want him to change the game with the sprint speed, though. Like, that was not good. And he really did cost the Yankees a couple runs. Like the one that pretty much everybody would score on. Even some of us might have scored on that play with Isbell in center. Like, you know, you gotta score there, my guy. Like, that one was bad. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, some of these things is like I think we're getting caught up in the moment, which totally makes sense because you know, it's the playoffs. Like, everything matters here. But I think overall the Yankees played pretty well. I mean, I don't really have that many issues with it. I'm not taking Stanton out of the lineup for Jason Dominguez. I'm not taking Stanton out of the lineup for Trent Grisham. Like, I'm not doing any of those things. I mean, it's just one game. And I thought it was a frustrating game, but I thought that overall the Yankees played pretty well. And I think you have to give the Royals some credit too. Their at bats and their approach were much better than what I expected against Garrett Cole. So I also want to give the Royals credit because I thought they played a better game than what I expected. So I don't have much to critique tonight. Outside of Garrett Cole like just being rusty or whatever it was, and the Volpe error was terrible. That was really bad. That could have been disastrous. But I thought they played well, and I thought Kansas City played tough. I think Kansas City might have realized that if they could steal the first game with Reagan's going game 2, that they were going to be sitting pretty. I think, you know, if the Yankees had lost this game going into game 2 against Reagan's, where you have all the pressure on you and you don't know if Carlos Rodon is going to be the good Rodon or the bad Rodon, you know, the Yankees could have been in a sticky situation on Monday. And thankfully, from Alex Verdugo to Gleyber Torres to a couple other guys, Clay Holmes, Luke Weaver, they were able to avoid that. So I want to talk about another person here, and that's Gleyber Torres. I thought Gleyber was fantastic. Gleyber was one of their best players today. Glaber made an immediate impact with the walk. I thought he played well defensively. The home run was obviously huge. I just think that the player we see now, and that we've seen over the last 2 months, is the Glaber Torres that I expected to see all year. I think despite all the like crazy, like weird things that happens with him and like the lack of focus at times and the kind of weird ass plays and the kind of mind-boggling shit that like is inexplicable, um, I think he's a core piece of this team. If you go back to last year when Judge was out, he was their best player. Now, obviously, the bar was a little lower because Judge wasn't there and there was a bunch of like random guys. But I think Glaber had a fantastic season while being surrounded by a bunch of like kind of like mid to trash players. And I think ever since he got off of a shortstop and went back to second base, Glaber Torres has been an important piece of this team. And I think he's showing that again. Now, I don't really want to turn this into a conversation about his future. I just want to talk about like the present. I think Glaber Torres can play at this level consistently. And I think what is maddening about him is that he has like those inexplicable moments where you're just like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what's happening here? And I think Glaber has a lot of value to this team. And I was happy for him that he was able to show that today, but also he was crucial to this game. I mean, he was a big part of this. And I think that in order for them to win a championship, he's going to have to be a big part of it. We always talk about Judge and Soto and who are the other players, and a lot of focus has been on Wells and Stanton and who's behind those guys. But because of his emergence in the leadoff spot, I think Glaber is a piece that you can rely on. I think Glaber is a piece that you're going to need. I think Glaber kind of takes the pressure off of guys like Wells and Stanton because he's on base, and like now he's giving an opportunity for Judge and Soto to have even more damage early on. I think as long as he can stay away from the boneheaded plays, then I think he's a big contributor. And I think that he's a big reason why they won today. And if he can keep that up, the Yankees are going to go far in the playoffs, because now you have a 1-2-3 that people are going to have to reckon with. And somebody mentioned it here that that Glaber looks locked in, and he absolutely does. I mean, for all the shit that he got, and he earned a lot of it. Like, I'm a Glaber supporter. I think he should come back, but I'm not blind, and I understand what was going on. And he definitely had some moments where his play was just bad, or like the lack of focus was there, and it can't happen. But I always maintain that he was part of this core and that he's a key piece. And I think putting him back in a leadoff spot magnifies that. And it's a place that I think maybe for him, it just is like, okay, this team thinks I'm important. I think Glaber is a sensitive ass player. And I don't mean that in a negative way. That's just how I'm speaking about it. But like, I think Glaber is a sensitive guy. He's a sensitive player. And I think that he's one of those guys that kind of needs a kick in the butt. But also I think he needs reassurance by action. And I think Boone putting him back in the leadoff spot was saying, okay, we believe in you. This is a spot that's been an issue, and I'm trusting you to like calm this like inconsistency down. So I know Glaber talks about like wanting to kind of get a kick in the ass sometimes, but I also think that the other part he doesn't mention is that he wants to get reassurance. And I think that move to the leadoff spot reassured him that there was trust. Like after all that stuff with him and Boone basically said, look, man, like I need you to do this. And I believe that you could do this. And he's taken off. So I think Glaber Torres is like a crucial piece to this. And he was big tonight. So let's see here. Let's see what you guys are saying. Hawkeye 420. I think that they should re-sign him. I agree. I think he should come back again. This is going to be a financial thing to me. I don't know what's going to happen, but this is a conversation for down the road. And like Chris and I have talked about this, and we can continue to speak about it over time. but I'm not sure if Glaber can come back. I don't know how that's going to work out. But yes, Glaber is totally a Vise player. It's like sometimes I feel like this dude is going to start crying, in certain situations. It's just like sometimes I just want to give this dude a hug and be like, yo, man, it's all right. Just go play baseball. Like, just go play baseball, my guy. You're talented. You're a top prospect for a reason. You have your ups and downs, but like, just go play baseball. Sometimes I feel like things just kind of like snowball for him emotionally, and I do think that contributes to like the focus issues that he is trying so hard that like it just like works against him. So we'll see. Just so you guys know, I sent the invite link to Chris. So if he can hop on, we'll put him on here. If not, it's because he has his primary job in writing for The Athletic and all that stuff. So just letting you guys know why it's just me right now. And we'll continue to do this throughout the playoffs. I'm not sure if it's feasible for people like during the week to do it so late. I figured because it was Saturday, guys will be up, women will be up, people will be up after the game, watching the post game. And time to plug things. So if you want to join our Patreon, you can at patreon.com/theviews-from-314 feet. I could put the link in there in a minute if people want to join. Again, we made the decision just based off of like being properly compensated for the work. It was nothing against you guys. We really appreciate the support. We certainly didn't want to cut down our listenership, but we did it just because we felt like we needed to be compensated a little bit better than we were. So yeah, Glaber, I don't know. I think it's 50-50 with Glaber coming back, but that's for down the road. Like, let's talk about now and how he's contributing and how he get a good game. Yeah. So do that. All right. So another person that we should talk about here. Well, the two people, they're in tandem in my mind. Luke Weaver and Clay Holmes. Luke Weaver has been a godsend. He's the closer of the New York Yankees. And who would have thought that when we started this season that Luke Weaver would end up being their best bullpen weapon and be the closer? He has completely changed that bullpen. So Chris and I, like from the very first episode, if you've listened to the podcast from the first day, we were very critical of the bullpen. And rightfully so. You could tell right from the beginning in the first couple of weeks that the Yankees' biggest issue was the bullpen. They had no swing and miss. We all know how that like played out. It is remarkable that in the last month, the Yankees have totally eradicated that issue. And a lot of it has to do with Luke Weaver taking over that closer position. And his fastball is like from another planet now. I don't know. It's gotten better as the season has gone on, not just from like the last season to this year, which is true, but in season, after all those innings, his fastball is better now than it was at the beginning of the year. His changeup is better now than it was at the beginning of the year. Like, I don't even understand how he did that. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. It is remarkable. I don't know what happened here. And I think it's a testament to his hard work, his dedication to his craft, how he's crazy competitively. Like, he's a nut when it comes to like being a competitor. Matt Blake and just like, and Mike Harkey, like everybody, because his stuff is actually better now than it was at the beginning of the season. It was very good. So Luke Weaver has made a total impact and like changed that bullpen. Ian Hamilton has made a big impact. Tim Hill, Jake Cousins when he was healthy. The bullpen is like not an issue anymore. Tommy Kahnle's been fantastic all year. He could get lefties and righties out by throwing the same damn pitch like at like 99% of the time and like still getting away with it, which is crazy to me. Um, it's just it's crazy. Like it's just unbelievable how like the Yankees bullpen has reinvented itself and they made bad moves to improve it. And it's just like the guys that were there just got better. It's crazy. Like they've taken a leap at the end of the season. So it's been remarkable. And I don't know. I've said for a while, I feel very confident in this team. I think they could go on a big run. And part of that is because the bullpen has figured itself out. Now, if the next guy, Clay Holmes, if he has figured it out, then we're cooking. And Clay Holmes was fantastic tonight. And if he can keep that up for the rest of this postseason run, the Yankees are sitting very pretty because now you shorten the game. Luke Weaver obviously has demonstrated that he can shorten the game, and he'll be back for game 2 because of the off days with the TV schedule. But if Clay Holmes can be effective in a setup role along with Tommy Kahnle and Ian Hamilton and potentially Jake Cousins and Tim Hill, these Yankee games are going to be short. The Yankees just need a couple of runs against a starter and then give it over to this bullpen. That's how much the bullpen has improved that we can even like entertain this idea now that, it's crazy. Like the bullpen has kind of changed. And I think Holmes, the outing tonight from Holmes was very encouraging. And I believe, let me check Baseball Savant real quick. I believe the majority of his pitches today were sinkers, which is something that he should have been doing a long time ago. And I guess he lost the feel for it. But he, I think he threw a couple more. Yes. So he threw 85% of his pitches tonight were the sinker. And it was fantastic. That's the best sinker he's had in a very long time. So, obviously he didn't really get a lot of swing and miss with it, but he induced a lot of contact, and it was weak contact. So, I think that now if you can use Holmes like in the middle relief area, they're good. And they didn't even have to use Hamilton tonight. They didn't have to use Cousins. So I think the Yankees are in a good spot. I mean, I think that if you're looking at this game and you try to put the emotion to the side, I think there are a lot of positive signs for the small sample size theater of the playoffs. I think Glaber was a bright spot. Holmes was a bright spot. Verdugo was a bright spot. Soto was a bright spot. Jazz Chisholm as a game on was a bright spot. Oswaldo, Wells. I mean, it's like a long list of people. Weaver. I think that you can take a lot of positives, and I would recommend that that's what people do here. I think that there were a lot of good signs here to take forward into game 2 with a much tougher test. So they won this game with Judge not doing anything, with Stanton not doing anything, and Cole being bad. And they're up 1-0 in the series. So I think those are good signs. I mean, Judge was bad. Cole was not Cole. Stanton was not good. They had a big error from Volpe. They overcame it, won a game. That feels pretty good to me. And Soto, the game was so good and they had so many contributors that, yes, we haven't really spoken about Soto. Soto had a 3-hit night, and it's kind of like, yeah, okay, cool. He threw somebody out at home early on in the game. It was a big play in the game. Okay, cool. I just think that these are all positives. Like there were so many other big moments that didn't involve like the people that they've relied on all year, that it comes back to the theme that I was speaking about, that this was really about the supporting cast being the main characters tonight. And if the Yankees can bank wins going that way, and then you get the big Soto home run, or you get the big Judge home run, or you have a dominant performance from Garrett Cole, then things are like looking really positive. Really positive. So I'd love to know what you guys think about game 2. How do you feel about game 2 against Reagan's? Do you think that the Stars are going to have to like take over that game against like one of the best pitchers in baseball? How do you guys feel game 2 will go on, and we'll wrap up on that. Let me know how you feel in the comments as they fill up. I think that the Yankees will struggle against Reagan's. I think it's going to be tough, not just because of the left-handed pitcher thing that's been an issue all year. I just think Cole Reagan's is disgusting. That guy's filthy. And I think he's going to be very hard to hit. And I think that a lot of this is going to come down to, as John is pointing out in the comments, that it's going to come down to Rodon. That's John's boy, by the way. John Morales loves Carlos, and he's been leading the Carlos bandwagon all year. But I think it's going to have to come down to Rodon matching Reagan's for as long as he can, because my hunch is the Yankees will struggle against Reagan's, and they're going to have to get back to that bullpen of Kansas City, who pitched well recently, but those guys were shook, by the way. The Royals bullpen was having trouble pitching at Yankee Stadium with that crowd in those moments. I thought that they reverted back to the bad Kansas City bullpen, not the good bullpen of recent time. All right, let's go through some of these comments about game 2. Ed, left-handed pitching equals more anxiety. I feel you. I get it. Jerk Tube, Judge needs to handle a lefty, in my opinion. I agree. He needs to handle a lefty or righty in the playoffs, both. Even if you like had an arm that was like in your chest, in the middle of your body, and throwing it from the middle of your body, he needs to handle that person too if that ever happened. He needs to handle somebody. Derek Williams, game 2 will be back and forth. I agree. I agree if Rodon doesn't blow up. Hawkeye, they have to prove that elite hitting can beat elite pitching, which is a tough task. And Rodon needs to give them the chance to stay in the game. I agree. I think the lineup's going to struggle against Reagan's. So I don't know how old all of you guys are, but I'm old enough to remember when the old Yankees, used to face Pedro. And I'm not saying Reagan's is Pedro. He's not. Like, I'm not making that comparison. I'm just talking about like an elite pitcher going up against a Yankee lineup. And the Yankees' plan of attack was basically outlasting Pedro, like doing just enough that like you could get into the bullpen. And it worked for a lot of years, especially as Pedro started to like log innings and wasn't as crisp as he was when he was like at his like absolute peak. But even when he was still like a dominant pitcher, the whole game plan was like battle him until he either made a mistake and you took advantage of it, or he was taken out of the game. And they would just grind at bats. And I think that approach is always good against elite pitching. And I think sometimes the Yankees get into this trap of like, we got to jump on the first pitch, like, because we might strike out. And it's like, well, no, you could like battle him, even if the result at the beginning of the game doesn't result in like something productive per se, but like the pitches are going to add up, especially in the playoffs in this modern era of baseball. Managers are so like wary of like pitch counts, like third time through the order, that you could like spook a manager into like making a pitching change earlier than you probably should. And I don't think that's talked about enough, that like you can spook a manager into making a decision he might not want to make at that particular time. And I think that you can do that if you grind at bats. It's kind of like in football when you, like with Derrick Henry, like you hand off the ball to him and he gets 2 or 3 yards in the first quarter and it looks like it's not working. Then by the fourth quarter, this guy's like steamrolling your defense and putting up 200 yards and like getting 5 touchdowns in the fourth and winning a fantasy football week for you and helping the Ravens or the Titans win a game. You know, so I think that you can approach Reagan's the same way, potentially, if you if you want to figure out maybe a game plan against him as we're just like speaking on YouTube. You know what I mean? That might be one way to kind of handle Reagans by just outlasting him and forcing Quattro to make a decision in the fifth inning, like he did today when he took out Waka. So that might be one way for them to attack it. So now, because I said that, they're all going to swing first pitch all game 2. All right, let's see. Starting pitching is the issue. I'm not exactly sure what you mean, Derek. Starting pitching is the issue for the Yankees or in general. I'm not really sure what that means. Jerk 2, Rodon has a postseason personality. If he brings his nasty fire energy, I think he'll shove. I think he needs to throw strikes. I mean, I agree with the personality, but I think he needs to throw strikes or he's in trouble. Derek Williams, not sounding confident. Bobby Witt will homer on Rodon. Sal or Perez with a homer as well. Damn, Derek. I mean, are we just going to hand him the game or like what's going on here? Yes, Hawkeye, I agree. They need to find a way to make Reagans work the pitch count. Shout out to Brad Halsey going toe-to-toe with Pedro in 2004. I was at that game. That was the Derek Jeter face plant into his chair game with John Flaherty walking it off and A-Rod making that amazing play and Gary Sheffield playing the infield with 5 infielders and all that stuff. But at the beginning of that game was Brad Halsey against Pedro. Greatest game I think I've ever been to. Just as a baseball game, like with all the excitement, not necessarily because of the stakes. That was awesome. Let's see here. Royals bullpen, John. This from John. Royals bullpen was shook, as you mentioned. I wonder how Reagan's emotions will be. Would be great if he was shook too. That man ain't gonna be shook. I think he wants this. I think he's one of those guys that like rises to the occasion. You're just gonna have to beat him. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe he just has an off night, but I think like personality wise and like competitive, that guy is. If you haven't seen Cole Reagans really pitch, he was on. So Nick Polak at Pitcher List has talked about him for a very long time. So I paid attention to him when he came back from his injury. So I've seen Cole Reagans pitch a bunch, and he was also on my fantasy team. So I paid more attention to him. He is that guy's a real deal. I know that he pitched well against the Yankees in September. That might have been the only time that Yankees fans really seen him pitch. That guy's nasty. I don't think anything like – I think he likes these moments. He seems like one of those guys, and you're just going to be like frustrated the entire time unless he makes a mistake and something happens. That it just feels like one of those games is coming, and Rodon, like as a lot of you have mentioned, is going to have to match him. So let's see. Jerk Tube. I think he just get a run or two early. I think the Royals are going to fold. Labor gets on and Soto takes Reagans deep. It's over. I'll sign up for it. I love it. That will definitely be good for me. Derek meant Yankees starting pitcher for game 2. Carlos worries me. I feel you. I get it. Not to be negative. You're not being negative. I was just messing with you. But, yeah, I mean, I get it. It's Carlos Rodon. We don't know which one we're going to get. If we get good Rodon, then we're in good shape. Because I think the Yankees can outlast Reagans and get to that bullpen. That Royals bullpen is not good. I know that they pitched well recently, but, like, my man Zerpa was, like, shitting bricks on the mound. Like, that dude was shook in that inning. And it was like the 5th inning. And my man was like, he wanted to be anywhere but there. Schreiber was the same way. He made a couple better. He made a few more nasty pitches than Zerpa, but he wasn't that much better either. Zerpa looked like he did not want to play professional baseball anymore on that mound. Maybe be better in Kansas City, maybe be better in game 2. But, like, that bullpen was bad for the majority of the year. So I think if you can get back to that bullpen in this situation, I think the Yankees are in good shape. Do we get game 2 Burnett or game 5 Burnett? AJ Burnett is one of my favorite Yankees, so I'm not going to disrespect AJ. I'm going to say game 2 Burnett. I'm just going to be positive here. I think Rodon will show up. I think he will pitch well. I think Rodon has figured some things out over the course of the season. And if he can keep his emotions in check and if his pitch comm works, not like against the Nationals or whatever game that was when he completely imploded because the pitch comm didn't work. I think if he can keep his emotions in check and have good command, I think he'll be good. I think he can match zeros with Reagan's. Also, that Kansas City lineup stinks. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so disrespectful. I feel like this game was an outlier with how the Royals like attacked Cole. I just think that lineup is bad. I think Massey's good. I think Massey's an underrated player. Bobby Witt is Bobby Witt. Sal Perez is Sal Perez. Pasquantino still has like one thumb. I don't think MJ Melendez will do this again. I don't think Isbell or Hampson or whoever that random center fielder is going to play. I guess Hampson will play or whatever his name is. I don't think that guy's a very dangerous hitter. Michael Garcia is like not good offensively. Pham is Pham, solid veteran, but I don't know. I just think that line was bad. So I think Rodon can navigate it if he throws strikes. So yeah. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we get out of here? Let me know. Chris obviously isn't joining us because of his writing. And let me know if you want these to continue during the week, because I know it'll be late. People work or they have kids and stuff like that. So I want to make sure it's worth their while for people. So yeah, let me know either by leaving a comment here or by you can leave a comment here, or you can also tweet me at Pam Sun and let me know if these work for you guys. All right. I mean, you guys like it. So yeah, we'll keep doing it. I can make it work. I know I just want to be respectful of people's time. So I do think that the replay will be up on the YouTube. I think that you'll be able to just go over it. We won't delete it or anything. So it should stay up on the YouTube. Cool. We'll keep doing them. I have no problem doing them because I'll be up anyway, watching the post game show and coming down from whatever emotions we all may have from watching these games. So we'll keep it up. I cannot guarantee that Chris will be here. I think it'd be great if Chris is here. He can give some insight. And even if it's a small number, that's fine. People can watch it later, or we just have like our small intimate group here. Chris will obviously be writing after the game, so I cannot guarantee that Chris will be here. So it might just be blabbing with you guys, but I'll keep him up during the week. So we'll do the next one on Monday. I'm going to put the link to the Patreon here just in case anybody wants to subscribe, or at the very least, just like spread the word. We'll be doing 2 episodes every week. The second episode that comes with the $10 tier, we'll have like the mailbag and also like our guests. So far, we've had Brian Hoke and Britt Giroli, and we'll have more guests in the future as we move forward. So, yeah, Chris does need to be a part of the beer celebrations. I have to ask him. I'll ask him like, where is he hiding in these celebrations? Now, sometimes just a little inside baseball, he's not always there because him and Brendan Cuddy like share duties, like in terms of going to the stadium. I think for the playoffs, they'll all be there, obviously, because it's the playoffs. But like in some of these games where they've clinched, I don't think Chris has actually been there because, like I said, Brendan and him like kind of switch off who goes, because they both obviously work for the Athletic, who goes to the stadium and who stays home, and then kind of just like gives their analysis or writes from home. But so I think because these champagne celebrations have happened when he's not there, he has not been a part of it yet. But I think if they win the ALDS, he will be there, and he needs to tell us what's going on. Like, and we need to know if he's getting like attacked with champagne. So we will definitely address that if the Yankees win the ALDS. Ed, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for your nice comment. Thank you. So yeah, we will keep these things going. We'll do it on Monday after game 2. Thank you everybody for listening and watching. Thank you for interacting and also commenting amongst yourselves. Thank you for giving the Dodgers Padres update. I have no idea if that game's still going on because I still have Yes on my television. So I know the Dodgers were winning at some point. I don't know if that game is still going on. If not, if there are any WWE fans, I'll be watching Bad Blood now until I fall asleep. Don't spoil it for me though. Don't spoil it for me because I don't know anything that happened. I'm muted mad words on Twitter too. So thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for listening. We will be back on Monday and enjoy the games. Enjoy the games tomorrow. Enjoy the NFL tomorrow. Thank you guys, and we will speak to you on Monday. See you later.